G'day guys, Jackson Millan, the Wealth Mentor here, and in this video I'm going to be talking around the financial numbers around our trip. Are we going to end up better off? Are we going to end up worse off? Essentially, what are the numbers that go into doing a trip like this? I'm going to run you through our pre-trip budget, our post-trip budget, the spend that we're going to be going through when it comes to actually getting the rig fitted out for the trip, and ultimately what we're going to be coming back to financially. So hopefully this will help you make the decision for yourself in your business. So guys, a bit of background. I'm Jackson Millan, the Wealth Mentor. I'm the CEO of Aureus Financial Group. Now, we help small business owners maximize their cash flow, increase their profits, and then turn business profit into personal wealth. And this entire trip was really designed to allow us to impact more small business owners, to help them create lifestyle businesses. We've particularly seen through this coronavirus situation that we've been presented with this fantastic opportunity to really break the cycle of how we've worked for a very long period of time. Most of us have gone into an office, we've kind of grinded away, we've taken, if we're lucky, a couple of weeks to a month off a year. And here's the thing, guys, like, do you really want to work an entire year just to enjoy 1 month where you're not even turning off in the first place? I'm a big believer in creating a lifestyle business, a business that allows you to live life on your own terms. So I actually wanted to document the whole process of how we prepare our business, Aureus, which now has a team of 27 across 3 continents, to allow me to essentially work remotely as we travel around Australia in a Toyota Troopcarrier. This idea was born a few months ago, was reborn a few months ago, because we wanted to fire up an idea that we had last year, where we were going to fit out a Sprinter van and do exactly the same thing. But there was a lot of self-limiting beliefs that prevented us from doing that. We fired the idea back up in this whole coronavirus situation because we saw the opportunity. We saw that there was a way that we could really overcome those self-limiting beliefs, and that what we thought was impossible was now definitely possible. It was just our own self-limiting beliefs and invisible ceilings that were preventing us from thinking the way that we needed to bring this idea to life. So we set the wheels in motion, and in my style, I do things very quickly, got the idea, planned it out, and started executing. So now I want to take you through the numbers. Now, this is not something that we've just jumped into on a whim. We have put a lot of time and effort into understanding the financial implications, the pros and cons before we did this. The idea of this whole thing is we have a couple of principles. 1, the business needs to be better off as a result of me going away. 2, our clients need to get more value than when I was local. And 3, as individuals, we need to be more financially better off as a result. So this is not about closing down the business and then living off our savings for a year. This is actually a calculated financial decision. Now, I'm going to run you through the exact calculations that we've used, which are very, very simple, and you can replicate exactly the same for you. Now, I advocate if you're going to be taking any extended period of time out of your business, you should definitely go through this exercise. Like, this is an emotional decision, right? We need to be objective when it comes to the numbers to make sure that the risk versus return is asymmetrical, that there's always going to be risks, but the returns far outweigh the risks in the process. So I'm going to show you through the numbers now. All right, guys, so the first thing I'm going to take you through is the planning that we did in terms of the camper build itself, because let's face it, guys, building any type of camper or four-wheel drive touring vehicle is not a cheap exercise. The parts are expensive, there's a lot of consideration that goes into it, and there is a pretty significant upfront cost. So this is something that you definitely need to consider and make sure that you structure this appropriately. Now, this is a promotional vehicle for our business. It has already been fully wrapped in Aureus branding. It's been done the lifestyle business tourer. We're using this as a promotional vehicle for the business. So for that reason, we have fully financed this through the business for the purposes of this exercise. This has allowed us to make sure that everything is fully tax deductible and essentially that it's going to make it the most efficient for our purposes. So we were originally thinking to get a cheaper, an earlier model Troopy, around about a 2010 model. But when we weighed up all of the pros and cons, we decided to go with a newer vehicle, which was $100,000 that we imported from WA. It was the only one that we could find. Now, we have gone through and basically prioritized all of the kit that we are going to need. Now, this is a spreadsheet that I've calculated, essentially allowing us to work out what is the high, medium, or low value priorities for us. I'll take you through this in a little bit of detail, and ultimately for us to be able to tick it off and plan for this effectively. So to give you an example, guys, the entire cost for the entire project end to end is going to be about 127,000. Keeping in mind that 100,000 is for the vehicle, so there's an additional 27,000 in extras that need to be acquired. We have already spent a total of 113,000, and there is around about 13,000 left to go. We're hoping to have all of this finished before the end of the year. Now, we have prioritized all of these in order of high to low priority. I'm just going to show you. Firstly, the high stuff. Of course, the vehicle, underbody protection, a compressor for the tires to allow us to go on and off road very easily. The 3M wrap was done by One Day Wraps in Motorvale. Phenomenal job. If you guys will see a video on that shortly. Solar panel for the roof, be able to make sure that we can get solar input whilst we're driving around, saves us having the load on the batteries. Making sure we've got USB power to power our phones, our laptops, all of the electronic devices. If you followed our recent video, we killed the existing system in one day because it couldn't handle the load. We've actually got a geyser hot water system. It's a little portable system recently created in the States. It's phenomenal. We're waiting for that to arrive. There'll be a video review on that. We're going to go 200 amp hour lithium batteries running parallel. We've got some max tracks to help us do recoveries in the event of the unforeseen. We've got a barn door table on the back to make best use of the space that we have. We're looking to get a water tank mounted under the vehicle to carry as much water as we can possibly can. There's going to be some areas of our trip where we're going to have potentially over 1,000 kilometers where we don't have access to amenities. So we need to be able to be fully self-sufficient. Drifter is doing our drawer fit out and making sure that we've got our internal fit out so we can have our internal office, have everything soundproof to make it really easy for us to be able to run the business from the road. Window shades, keep the sun out. Armrests, dash cams, flag mounts, fridge freezer combos, extra accessories to make the most of the space that we've got. Although it's a big truck, it is limited in space. We've got our gull-wing doors, which will be featured in a video shortly, and we've got our cell phone booster, which basically, as long as you've got one bar of reception, it'll boost you up to full bars and ensure that you're able to get good quality reception, which is phenomenal. We're getting that installed shortly by Extreme 4x4 in Motorvale. We then have our medium priorities. Our air tank, not sure if it's actually necessary, need to get some advice on this. Upgrading brakes and all those kinds of things, it's obviously something that's going to be a necessity for us. We've got a table that's going to be riveted to the outside and drop down, just once again making the best use of the space that we have available. Looking to get an Android head unit, so we'll basically have a tablet, kind of like a Tesla style, mounted in the vehicle, allows us to run our maps, basically everything that we need to run. And then some extra little bits and pieces. And then finally, we've got our low value stuff, which is, there's not a whole lot, to be honest. We've tried to keep it to the bare necessities, the things that we really need to function. So things like driving lights, speaker door pods, etc., etc. Nothing too serious that we need there. One of the optional things we're considering is having a little drinks fridge that we can set in the center console. So we've got the ability to have cool drinks all of the time. So reality is, guys, 127,000 in overall cost, and this is going to be, we're able to finance it at about 4.7% as a shuttle mortgage over 5 years with a 30% balloon payment, and it worked out extremely economical. Interest rates are crazy, guys, as you will know. So this is the rundown of the truck itself. So the big thing here is that ultimately, for us to run this whole vehicle, it's going to be around about $1,500 a month, which is pretty cheap when we compare it to renting or a mortgage. Let's call it $1,500 a month divided by 4.3, $348 a week compared to mortgage, rent, so on and so forth. Now let's talk about our pre-trip budget, okay? We've plugged in our business stuff. So at the moment we're doing on about $2.5 million in revenue, thereabouts. Profits are around about 30%. If you have a look here, 35%. And Sam and I end up taking about 50% of the profits out on a quarterly basis in order to remunerate ourselves for our role as directors in the business. So essentially for us at the moment, we have around about $20,000, $21,000 a month of net income, which essentially is what we use to live our lifestyle. Now, at the moment, all of our investment income, we reinvest. We've got dividend reinvestment plans. Everything else gets pumped back into the business for the purposes of looking to acquire other businesses and continue to grow and scale. So I'll run you through our expenses. Our expenses are pretty basic. Anna and I don't drink, we don't smoke. Our only vice is eating out. Now, we eat out a few times a week, and once again, that's really the extent of our lifestyle. With Corona, we typically budget that on an annual basis. We haven't considered reducing it for that basis. We spend about 10 grand a year on holidays, which is normally, Anna goes back to Brazil once a year under normal circumstances. Unfortunately, she had to call off a trip this year because of Corona. And we spend about $300 a week each on personal spending. Obviously, it's not something that we spend every single week, but that is typically what we spend on average. We've been tracking our cash flow using the My Prosperity app for years, and we've pretty much got this down to a T. Our other living costs are pretty straightforward. Now, since we started Aureus and I sold all of my property, I used all of my cash flow, all of my excess funds to invest into Aureus to get it kick-started off. I've been renting ever since. I'm not a believer in stepping stone properties. I looked at the cost benefit of the growth that we were experiencing in Aureus and what the returns have been in the property market, and we decided to put all of our eggs in one basket and look to build a group of businesses to allow us to diversify our risk, and we accumulate property within the Aureus group directly. We've already bought our commercial premises that we lease off ourselves, and then we're in the process of looking to set up an investment trust for us to actually develop and manufacture wealth through property within the group ourselves. So for that reason, we rent. We live in Motorvale, very modest home. We pay $710 a week in rent. So with all of our costs being considered, we look at our non-discretionary, so our need-to-haves, the necessities of life, all of our fixed expenses represents about 32% of our household income. Our discretionary represents about 17%, which means that we have about 51% in surplus. Now, as a benchmark, guys, when we work with our clients, and we work with thousands of clients, we aim for non-discretionary for our clients to be around about 50% at a maximum 65%. And for discretionary, we want that to be between about 15 and 30% of your budget. So because our discretionary is bang on, our non-discretionary is much lower because we don't have a lot of commitments, don't have kids. Things are pretty simple for us. We have a pretty significant surplus of about 51% or just close to about 11 grand a month. So let's look at what this looks like when we go to the post-trip budget. So we did some analysis on this, and obviously the things that change here, guys, is that obviously we're not going to be doing any overseas trips for the year. So we've brought that down to 5K, considering that we might do some tours, like some tag-along tours. We've got some big things that we want to do on the trip, and we know we can't do that alone, so that's probably going to come at a cost. And there's also a buffer in there if there are other issues that come up and rear their ugly head along the way. So that's been considered as well. The only other things that really change, guys, is our vehicle expenses. We've considered the additional amount to vehicle expenses of 2.5 grand. We're planning to do about 30,000 Ks over the course of the year. So we wanted to have extra in there for servicing and a breakdown allowance. And the big one's going to be fuel. So we've actually put some buffers in here. We've assumed that we do about 12 litres per 100 kilometres. Diesel at the moment is $1.20. And we've also considered an allowance for regional areas of about a 25% margin for paying extra. They sting you. I've even heard in Outback Western Australia and Outback Australia, them charging about $3 a litre, which is extortionate, but hey, it is what it is. And 30,000 kilometres. So that's going to average about $450 a month in terms of expenses. And then obviously when we get to our living, our groceries and everything remain the same, but we have no rent. And essentially the only other cost that we're going to have is we're going to have a little bit of cost for storage of our household items, the things that we aren't going to sell, we want to keep, and also our post forwarding. We're going to be having all of our post sent to mum's house, so she has it all there, and then basically if she can either scan it in, take photos, send it to us, or if there are things that we need, she can then forward that on to the next post office that we're going to be at at some point in the journey, and we can pick it up along the way. So it's going to be a pretty straightforward system. So the impact here, guys, is that will increase our surplus by around about $3,000 a month. Our income is not going to change. We're not assuming that there's going to be more growth in the business. We're just going to assume that everything is being equal. And essentially, that will allow us to save just shy of about 14 grand a month. So when we look at our net cash flow here, we look at our total income of just shy of about 21,000. We look at our expenses, which are going to be just shy of about 7,200, which means that our monthly surplus of about 13,684. As you can see here, guys, over the course of the 12 months, we will save $164,000. So here's the thing, guys. From a financial standpoint, considering the costs associated with the vehicle, the financing costs of the vehicle, all of the upfront costs being considered, we are going to be substantially better off as a result of going on this trip than we are staying. Now, our dream when we come back is that Anna and I want to buy a homestead. We're not sure exactly where. We're thinking in the Hunter Valley. We want a nice bit of land, 5 acres, have some animals, have a really nice old homestead in a rural area. And ultimately, we want to be able to buy that pretty much as soon as we come back. So with the money that we've already got saved, with what we're going to save over the 12 months of the trip, our deposit will already be ready to go. And this is all the while we're investing into Aureus. The group is going to be continuing to grow. Our objective is to double the business over the next 12 months. As I step into full-time CEO, Sam steps into full-time COO. It's going to be a hell of a journey. So guys, I want you to think about this. What are these self-limiting beliefs that you believe about the flexibility and freedom that you want? Maybe you don't want to spend a year traveling around Australia, but maybe you want more flexibility to do the things that you really want to do and live life on your own terms. Maybe you want to be able to run your business from anywhere in the world. Maybe you want to move to a regional area and essentially run your business remotely. Maybe you want to have the flexibility to take 3 months off a year and just go touring and not have to worry. Most of our decisions and our self-limiting beliefs come down to money. My business won't allow me, I can't afford it, I'm gonna have to compromise on my other goals. All of these utter bullshit that you've subscribed to, that you've been conditioned to believe. But the problem is you haven't even taken the time to crunch the numbers. I had these same beliefs. For a very long time, I'm like, okay, if we're gonna do this, it's gonna cost us money. And when I went through this exercise, I crunched the numbers and I looked at it, it was an absolute no-brainer. Sure, there's gonna be challenges. Sure, not everything in this budget is going to go to plan. Sure, there are gonna be things that come up along the way. But the risk versus return is pretty asymmetrical for me. The returns that we're going to get through the experience, the growth, the learning, the development of being able to function as a CEO, lead our business forwards of almost 30 staff, be able to help our clients achieve phenomenal outcomes while setting an example of traveling around the country and pursuing thought leadership and doing all of these amazing things along the way, all while saving an extra $164,000. It's a pretty awesome result, right? Now, I don't tell you guys this to gloat. I don't think that we are special. I don't think that this is anything to brag about. I think that this is quite conservative outlook. The whole aim of this entire experience is about paving the way and showing you what is possible and actually giving you a look behind the scenes of just an average guy who lives on the northern beaches, who's created a business and is ultimately wanting to unveil and give you a look behind the curtain of what exactly is going on with no bullshit. So let me know what you think, guys. Hit me up in the comments. If you've got any questions, please feel free to ask me. If you're looking at any other scenarios that you're considering to do when it comes to implementing this kind of stuff, I'd love to know. Please feel free to reach out. Hit me up in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, make sure that you follow, you like, you comment, and follow the journey. We want to know your opinion. We want to know what you want to see. So whether it be about the trip, whether it be about the fit out, whether it be about the business strategy, whether it be about how you replicate this for yourself, hit me up, happy to share, and just glad that you're enjoying the journey. Look forward to catching you soon.